us on the morning show. I'm Liza Fromer. Desperate Church Wives is a one-woman show loosely based on the biblical story of Prophet Hosea and his wife, a former prostitute. Writer and performer Diane Johnstone joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
The one thing I can always think when I see this is it must be exhausting. There are 6 characters in here. You've written the whole thing. You perform it, as I said, as a one-woman play on your own. Tell us a bit more about the story.
Well, as you said, it's about loosely based on the Bible story of Prophet Hosea and his prostitute wife Gomer. And I take it and put it in modern day, where we have Minister Hosea and his prostitute wife Gomer, who is now a Sunday school teacher, who gets busted for prostitution. And the church is upset. Like, what are we going to do, about the situation? So the play is as if we are having a church meeting, and I have all these different characters. We start off with Grandma Word, who says, I hear y'all talking and gossiping. Do the hoe have to go? That's not nice. And then we have our minister, our pastor, Pastor Hortense. Welcome, everybody. We try to keep these sort of things confidential. However, there's some things we have no control over. And we have our snooty character, Clarissa. Well, I told all y'all about this before. We should let all kinds of people up here in this church house. So, we have fun with all these different characters, which our saucy character, Barbara's like, I knew it. When I heard that Minister Hosea was going to marry a prostitute, I say he ain't nothing but a super freak. So we have fun with the show and with the story.
Now, have you crossed paths with these characters that you have invented for this play?
Well, life is real, right? This is where they come from. I, myself, was one time a dancer, as I like to say. It sounds better than being a stripper. But yeah, I was in the clubs at one point, dancing, making money, and I also abused drugs at one time in my life, too. Now I'm an ordained minister. I know what it's like to be on both sides, to be accepted, to be rejected.
How did you make that transition?
You know what? Through prayer. Honestly, that's all I can say is through prayer from others, and just knowing that God loves me. And that's the message of the story. God loves you. He may not like what we do, but he loves us. He loves us unconditionally.
This was a real success at the Fringe Festival, and that's where you got your start. Tell us about how you developed it.
Well, I just started writing, and going to church and sitting in church and watching and observing. I mean, as an actor, we're always watching people. I love to fly. I love to be in the airport because I love to watch people. So even in church, I'm just watching and listening. And some of the stories that I hear, I just go, that's pretty funny. Like, today, really. And I thought to myself, today, if that did happen, what would I think? And I'd probably go, I don't know. But this is an actual Bible story. So I just took the story and just started writing. And in the show in the Fringe, it was well received. Last year in the Toronto Fringe, it got 4 stars in Critics' Pick. And I did it again this year in the Hamilton Fringe, and it was a success there, too. So we're putting up again in Toronto now.
And there's some audience participation, and we're seeing a little bit of B-roll. You could just hear the laughter even when we brought up the B-roll. That it's very, there's some very serious subject matter, but you make it incredibly entertaining,
life, right? Because life can be full of drama, but you got to have your funny moments in there.
Yeah. So is this sort of a participatory thing?
It is, yes. I try to prompt the audience to say a few amens, or, there was one time when I did the show and someone stood up and said, I'd just like to know, how did she get busted? So it's like
Q&A.
Clarissa was, what? That's a very good question. So, yeah, I encourage audience members to participate. They clap, we sing.
As Liza was saying, it sounds exhausting to do all of these characters. So when you're on stage, are you switching from one to the other like that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. No costume changes?
No costume changes.
Really?
Yeah,
so just the voices and just the attitude.
Yes. And I think with women, we're multitaskers. I'm not knocking guys, but women are multitaskers, right? So we've always got a lot of things going on in our head. So for me, it's just kind of easy. And when I grew up, my background, we always mimic people and mock people. So it's just kind of like you're just going back and forth. And I pace it in a way where I get a chance to take a breath every now and then. But it's fun and it is exhausting, but I love it. Yeah. So it's all worth it.
When you see all these headlines in the news, like, what's happening in the United States with General Petraeus and things like that, and it's always quite amazing, isn't it, that it never really stops, that we see one face publicly and there's so often something else going on behind the scenes.
It is, and I think a lot of that is just from lack of character, lack of teaching, lack of discipline. And so we learn as we go. But the unfortunate part is that when someone does fall into temptation, or whatever you might want to call it, where are those loved ones around them to help them to get back up again? Because none of us are perfect. Nobody's perfect. We've all got a story. You know, whether we were so goody, goody, goody that we thought God was, you know, we weren't good enough for God. We've all got a story from being the lowest to the highest.
Well, congratulations on the success, and I'm sure it's just going to continue. Desperate Church Wives is playing at the Randolph Academy for the Performing Arts now and runs until November the 25th. Diane Johnstone,
Thank
the
you
star.
very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's 7:23 now. We're going to take another short break. We'll be right back.
Thanks.